What's up, history nerds? Today we're settling one of the most debated questions in all of historical what-ifs. Who would win in a fight? A Roman legionary or a medieval knight? Now, before you start typing furiously in the comments, I know, they lived about 1,000 years apart. But that's never stopped the internet from arguing about it, has it? So grab your gladius, polish your plate armor, and let's dive into this centuries-spanning showdown. First up, let's talk about our Roman legionary. This guy is basically the ancient world's version of a special forces soldier. We're talking about a professional warrior who's been drilled to perfection. Picture this. You wake up at dawn, you march 20 miles in full gear, you build a fortified camp from scratch, then you fight a battle, and if you're lucky, you get some watered-down wine for dinner. Every single day. These guys didn't just fight. They were engineers, construction workers, and basically the Swiss Army knives of ancient warfare. Now, equipment-wise, our legionary is rocking what was cutting-edge technology for the year 100 AD. He's got a gladius. That's a short sword, about 2 feet long, perfect for stabbing in formation. He's carrying a scutum, which is that massive rectangular shield you've seen in every Roman movie ever. For protection, he's wearing a larica segmentata, those cool overlapping metal plates, or maybe chainmail if he's from an earlier period. Oh, and let's not forget the pilum, a javelin specifically designed to be annoying. Seriously, it would bend on impact, so enemies couldn't throw it back. The Romans were petty like that, and I respect it. But here's the thing about Roman legionaries. Their real superpower wasn't their gear. It was their training and discipline. These men fought in formation. Imagine a human blender made of shields, swords, and extremely coordinated stabbing. One legionary alone? He's dangerous. A century of 80 legionaries moving as one unit? That's basically a meat grinder with military precision. They had signals, formations, tactics, the whole 9 yards. The Roman army was less heroic individual warriors and more terrifyingly efficient killing corporation. Now, let's jump forward about 1,000 years to our medieval knight. This guy is the tank of medieval warfare, and I mean that literally. By the High Middle Ages, we're talking about someone encased in full plate armor from head to toe. This isn't some flimsy costume. This is custom-fitted steel that could weigh anywhere from 45 to 55 pounds. Yeah, you heard that right. And contrary to popular belief, knights could actually move pretty well in this stuff. They could run, jump, even do cartwheels if they were showing off. Though I'm not sure how many cartwheeling knights there were at Agincourt. Weapon-wise, our knight is bringing some serious medieval firepower. He's got a long sword. We're talking about 3 to 4 feet of steel that can both cut and thrust. Some knights preferred maces or war hammers, which were basically medieval can openers designed specifically to deal with other armored opponents. And if he's on horseback, add a lance into the mix, which is essentially a guided missile made of wood and anger. Knights trained from childhood in mounted combat, swordsmanship, and the art of looking intimidating while wearing a metal bucket on your head. Here's something interesting. Being a knight wasn't just a job. It was a social class. These guys were nobility, or at least wealthy enough to afford the insanely expensive equipment. A suit of armor could cost as much as a village. A warhorse? That's like buying a Ferrari. Meanwhile, our Roman legionary was a professional soldier, yes, but he was basically a working-class dude with really good job training. So in one corner, we have a highly trained professional soldier. In the other, we have medieval nobility with a lifetime of martial training and equipment that costs more than a house. Okay, so let's game this out. Scenario 1, one-on-one combat. If our knight is on horseback, the legionary is going to have a really bad day. A cavalry charge with a lance was designed to break infantry formations, and one guy with a shield isn't going to stop a horse moving at full gallop. But let's say they're both on foot, because otherwise this is a really short video. The knight's armor is a massive advantage here. The legionary's gladius is designed for stabbing, but plate armor is specifically engineered to make stabbing really, really difficult. The legionary would need to target gaps in the armor, armpits, visor, joints, and that's not easy when a guy in full plate is trying to introduce your face to his longsword. But, and this is a big but, remember what I said about Roman fighting tactics? Legionaries didn't fight alone. They fought as a unit. So scenario 2. What if it's a full Roman century versus, say, a group of 20 knights? Now things get spicy. The Romans could use their pila to disrupt a cavalry charge, and their shield wall formation was literally designed to stop frontal assaults. If they can unhorse the knights, suddenly those 55 pounds of armor become a liability. Ever try to get up quickly while wearing the equivalent of a small person in metal? Knights often needed help getting back on their horses. A down knight surrounded by disciplined infantry with daggers? That's not ending well for Sir Metal Pants. Here's the reality check, though. We're comparing warriors from completely different eras with completely different tactical doctrines. The Roman legionary was part of a military machine that conquered most of Europe through discipline, engineering, and coordinated infantry tactics. The medieval knight was the product of a feudal system where individual martial prowess and cavalry charges dominated the battlefield. It's like asking who would win, a Formula One race car or a monster truck. The answer is, it depends on whether you're racing or crushing cars. Let's talk about why armor evolved the way it did. The Roman legionaries' equipment was designed for flexibility, endurance, and formation fighting. They needed to march long distances and fight as a coordinated unit. Medieval plate armor existed because warfare had changed. Crossbows, longbows, and better metallurgy meant that lighter armor was becoming obsolete. Knights needed protection from increasingly powerful weapons. But that armor came with trade-offs. Mainly, you were pretty much committed to mounted combat or fighting in small-scale engagements, because nobody's marching 20 miles in full plate. So who wins? Honestly, it's a tie, but not for the reason you might think. In a one-on-one duel, my money's probably on the knight, simply because that armor is a huge advantage and the long sword gives him reach. But, and this is crucial, the legionary was never designed to fight alone. Put that same knight against a disciplined formation of legionaries who can coordinate their attacks, and suddenly those individual advantages matter a lot less. The knight's armor protects him, sure, but it doesn't make him invincible, and the Romans were experts at problem-solving. They'd find a way. Here's the thing that both these warriors understood that we often forget. Warfare isn't about individual heroics. It's about tactics, terrain, numbers, and logistics. The Romans conquered an empire not because their individual soldiers were unbeatable, but because their army was a well-oiled machine. Knights dominated medieval battlefields not because they were invincible, but because they fit perfectly into the military and social structure of their time. So maybe the real question isn't who would win, but rather which military system was more effective for its era. At the end of the day, both the Roman legionary and the medieval knight represent the peak of military effectiveness for their respective periods. And honestly, I'm just glad I don't have to fight either one of them. I can barely handle assembling IKEA furniture without instructions, let alone facing down a professional warrior from any century. But hey, that's why we have history channels, so we can appreciate these warriors from the safety of our couches. So what do you think? Team Legionary or Team Knight? Drop your arguments in the comments below and try to keep it civil. We're talking about ancient hypotheticals here, not starting a war. If you enjoyed this deep dive into historical matchups, smash that like button, subscribe for more history content, and let me know what other historical versus scenarios you want to see. Should we do Viking Berserker versus Samurai next? Mongol Horse Archer versus English Longbowman? The possibilities are endless. Thanks for watching, History Nerds, and I'll see you in the next video.